Don't you love it when things are both easier and more affordable? Like when the rain washes your car for you. Or like when you save up to 10% by bundling your renters and auto insurance with USAA. Bundle with USAA and start saving. Get a quote today.
This Steve Jones Show podcast is now loading. The Steve Jones Show podcast is presented by Sunbury Motor Company, Purdy Insurance, and Brewers Outlet. Bringing you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Purdy Insurance, Brewers Outlet, and Sunbury Motor Company. Now from the Sunbury Motors Studio, here's Steve Jones.
Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Elmels Wharf. Online, sunburymotors.com. Ford Kia Hyundai, best in new inventory with great safety features. Great pre-owned inventory with the all-important Sunbury Motors guarantee. It eases the buying experience because they go over every vehicle. And a terrific service department, whether it's quick lane, inspections, routine, difficult, they handle it all at Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15, Elmels Wharf, and online at sunburymotors.com. Before we get to Eric here, very quickly, the guy that's making a charge at the Masters in round 2 is Rory McIlroy. He just eagled 13. He is 5 under for the day, now 5 under for the tournament. Justin Rose finished at 1 under 71 today. Rose is at 8 under par. That means McIlroy is now tied for third and is 3 shots back. Bryson DeChambeau still on the course as well at 7 under, 1 shot back, and he's playing the 14th hole. Eric Ohlson joins us after doing an outstanding job all season long. And by the way, Dick Girardi says he's the best guy he worked with in basketball this year. I didn't know what that meant. I was like, oh, I'm sure Eric did great. The Drexel game, I looked at him curiously. And as typical of the NCAA, the second you lose, they throw you on a plane and get you out of town. So Eric's already back in State College. Eric, welcome to the show. It's great to have you with us.
Hey, Steve, appreciate it. And one and done on basketball for me. You can have that headset.
No, he told me you did a great job. I was a little busy that day.
That was a lot of fun. He's a pro.
Isn't he? He's the greatest. So, Eric, now let's get to last night, where, by the way, you did a fabulous job. Last night, like the first period was like a feeling out period. In the second period, what was it about Boston University where that really was their 20 minutes and really swung the game their way?
Yeah, it really was the turning point. And I think what Boston did was prove a lot of doubters wrong. And even, Chris Funke and I were talking on the broadcast that it was kind of like, wow, okay, they have this in them. Because when you think of Boston right now, you think of their high-powered offense. They have 14 NHL draft picks. They score almost 4 goals per game. They have a freshman defenseman, Cole Hudson, who plays like a forward, racking up over 40 points, and he was dynamic last night. And you're thinking, okay, but can they play that tough, physical, defensive game? And that's what they did in the second period. The kryptonite for Penn State this season has been going against teams that are big and heavy and take away time and space. And when the Terriers got to that in the second period, it was hard for Penn State to counter that because you have to work just that much harder to create opportunities for yourself offensively. And, Boston scores a fluky goal to make it 1-0, where Sergeyev, he makes a save, but he doesn't know where the puck is in his paraphernalia, and he doesn't get a whistle. So when he opens up his pads, the puck is sitting there, and then Jack Hughes is able to poke it in, and that kind of took the air out of the bench a little bit. And from there, it was tough sledding. I mean, this is a high-quality Boston team. You don't get to the Frozen Four on a fluke by any means. It was their 40th time in the NCAA tournament, their 25th time making it to the Frozen Four, and their 3rd straight year going to the Frozen Four. So they played like a team that had the experience in that second period.
Well, and they have, I think, of those 14, 7 of them are first or second round picks. And Cole Hudson already plays like an NHL player in terms of size, puck handling ability, and also the ability to be in that gray area where you're like, it's so close to a penalty. Like I thought last night there were 4 or 5 times where I felt he was in the gray area and may have gone over the side, and they didn't want to blow the whistle.
Yeah, and he is dynamic. For people who've watched a lot of Penn State hockey, he reminds you of Quinn Hughes when he played at Michigan. And now he's having one heck of a career in the NHL with Vancouver as an offensive defenseman. And that's what Hudson is projected to be like. I mean, there were times where BU was dumping the puck into Penn State zone, and Hudson was the first guy in like he was a forward. He should be back at the other end of the ice, but he's not. He creates offense in so many different ways. And Penn State really couldn't expose his deficiencies defensively. And that's what you were kind of hoping, because for as much offense that Hudson puts up, he's only a +7 on the season. And that means, going into last night, and that means he was only on the ice for 7 goals for in that situation. Obviously, special teams goals don't count for and against you, but a lot of offense, not as strong defensively for how many minutes he played. But they did the job last night, and when Penn State got to its game in the third period, we saw what could have been maybe if that was in the first or second period. And even then, Steve, they still had some great chances. Just a couple minutes in, Aiden Fink gets a one-on-one with Mikhail Yegorov, and he misses the target. Dane Dowiak had a shorthanded breakaway, and Yegorov made a save. So you give a lot of credit to that freshman goalie for BU, because he was outstanding. But
here's one of the differences, though. Sergeyev, he doesn't get a whistle, and he should have got a whistle because that puck disappeared. It's supposed to be out of the line of sight of the official. All right? But BU doesn't stop playing, though, to their credit, and he knocked it in. But Yegorov doesn't see the puck, and he gets it with his armpit. Like, that's the difference in the game between the two teams. The unfortunate for Sergeyev, and to be honest with you, at the other end, an incredibly fortunate, it went into his armpit, I got it. And even one time, he even looked behind him because he didn't think he had it.
Yeah, man, hockey can rip your heart out, can it? I mean, it's the little things that make such a difference. And Sergeyev was outstanding, too, because when it's 2-0 Boston, they kept getting some odd man rushes and some one-on-ones, and Sergeyev was making those saves to keep Penn State in it. Arcee, you couldn't ask for anything more from him, especially in this tournament. What he did in the second half of the season to help Penn State get to Allentown, and then the performance he put on in Allentown. He only gave up 3 goals that weekend, and 2 of them you could say he really didn't have a chance on. And in the game against UConn in the regional final, makes a program record 42 saves in that game to go to the Frozen Four. So you feel for him, because I'm sure he wants that first one back, and the second one he doesn't have a chance on. It's basically a 2-on-1 right on the edge of the crease, and Cole Iserman buried the cross-crease pass. But what a season Sergeyev had, coming back from his first half injury, missing 7 games. He was outstanding last night, and certainly kept them in it when it was 2-0.
What did this run mean to Penn State? Because when I talked with Colby Cohen yesterday, I started out the interview, Eric, and I said, what does it mean to hockey that the brand name of Penn State was out there? Because, look, Denver's a great hockey program. BU's a great hockey program, Western Michigan. But they don't get the casual fan to watch. But Penn State's name gets them coast to coast. What did this season mean for Penn State, and what it can mean moving forward?
This is really going to move the needle, I think, for Penn State hockey. Because even just the buzz that was being created in their second half push, getting SportsCenter top 10 moments, and then the performance in Allentown, the overtime goal by Matt DeMarco to send them to the Frozen Four. Like, it's almost like a movie with the last few months of their season and the buzz that was being generated around campus on social media, all these major social media brands picking up, your big ones like SportsCenter, people who follow hockey, like all the hockey accounts and brands are picking up Penn State hockey, and all of a sudden, guys doing conversations with Spit and Chicklets and Barstool and all these different outlets. Penn State hockey became not just a name brand in the hockey world, but kind of a name brand in the sports world in general for a period of time. So I think it's absolutely huge. And now to make it to a Frozen Four and prove that you can get there, there's a great Penn State showing in St. Louis. We saw a lot of Nittany Lion fans walking around, a great pocket of them in the Enterprise Center, and about 15 members of the Roar Zone made the trip too. You could see them down in the corner near the Penn State bench. But to get to a Frozen Four puts you on a level with some of the blue bloods of college hockey, and now Penn State's in that conversation. And I think the staff and the team feels like this is just the beginning. They've been building to this moment. They were almost there 2 years ago, losing to Michigan in overtime in Allentown to try to go to the Frozen Four, and now they finally made it. This is just the beginning. This should be the launching point for what this program wants to be and what it is set up to accomplish because of what Guy and the staff have been able to build the last few years.
There will be valuable members of this team whose eligibility has been exhausted, starting with a guy like Jimmy Dowd and so forth. But the core of this team is back. In this offseason, how important will it be for roster retention surrounding that core to keep this rolling?
It's huge. I mean, and not just in this sport, of course, every sport now with the world of the transfer portal that we're living in. You're trying to keep your guys, and I think this is a pretty tight-knit group. It had a lot of personality. You can tell the guys just enjoy genuinely being around each other and in the locker room and on the trips. We're fortunate enough, Brian and I, to be around them in those situations, and you can just feel, the connection that they have. So you hope that certainly helps with retention, but again, you never know in the world of the portal. If some guys want a different opportunity, they could go that route. But like you said, Steve, their core is underclassmen, and that's the core that should be coming back. Your J.J. Weebushes, Serrato, Matt DeMarsico, Aiden Fink, Reese Lawback. On defense, Cade Christensen, who had an outstanding year playing with senior captain Simon Mack. There's a lot of guys who had major impacts this season that you imagine will be coming back, and those conversations are going to start to happen now over the next few weeks because the portal is still open. What will Penn State do adding from the portal? I think one or two moves will be made to try to solidify some areas. But Guy always talks about how they don't just go to the portal to get a guy. They go to get a guy that fits Penn State hockey and fits the Penn State culture. They're very much a culture-first team. They're not going to bring in a guy that they feel like doesn't fit. So if it means that guy isn't in the portal, then he's not in the portal. They're not going to sweat it. But I can tell you they feel very confident about the group that's coming in next year. It's going to be a lot of players from Canadian hockey leagues because of that rule change now where major junior players can play NCAA hockey. So there's a lot of talent coming in next year from those leagues. And if you thought Penn State's offense was great this year, it should be even better next year.
Yeah, it was interesting seeing them at the end. They were devastated at the end. Well, why were they devastated? It wasn't just that it was a Frozen Four loss. I think they were devastated because they've been playing with such great confidence. They believed they were going to win. What did that confidence mean to this team and the swagger of this team?
It means everything because there are so many variables in hockey that could go for you or against you, and so many of them are out of your control. One thing Guy always talks about is hockey comes down to referees, goalies, and rubber pucks.
Yeah,
those are some variables that you really don't have much control over. And this team, what they had to do from January on, which started at Wrigley Field against Notre Dame. They were 33rd in the pairwise that weekend.
Yep.
You are not supposed to be able to come back and make the tournament, much less make it to a Frozen Four. But they knew they had a chance because of how much belief they had in their game. They knew they had a great offense. They knew they had a really strong defense, great special teams, a great goaltender. They just needed to put it all together. And when they did, we saw what the results were. Hockey is so much about having confidence in your game. It's not really about the other team. It's not like football where you're scouting the X's and O's. Okay, if they're in this defense, what check are we going to have? What formation are we going to come out in? What play can we run? Hockey is too much uncontrolled chaos on the ice to be focused on that. So you just have to rely on what you do well and play your game to the best of your ability. It sounds cliche, but really in the hockey world, that's what it's all about. It's just playing your game the best you can, and that's what they did in this second half. So you could see it on the ice, and the emotion of knowing they were so close to achieving something unbelievable, and to try to win a national championship. But some of that emotion was also coming from, like you said, Steve, the seniors, who that was their last game, and having Chris Funke on the broadcast is always awesome, because he's a former goalie. He played on the team for 4 years, was part of the first team that won a Big Ten championship. His last game in 2019 was in the Big Ten championship at Notre Dame, where it was a win-and-get-in situation for both teams, and Notre Dame won it 3-2. And last night on the broadcast, Chris was just talking about, you know, the raw emotions of knowing you just played your last game as a Nittany Lion, and being in the locker room, not wanting to take your jersey off because you know it's going to be the last time you wear it. So I think a lot of the emotions we were seeing came from that as well.
What was it like for you to experience this?
It's unbelievable. You know, you always imagine what it would be like to get to a Frozen Four and have a chance to call those types of games. And I know for Brian Tripp, who was on the national broadcast, you know, he was feeling something special too, and it was a little different for him because he couldn't do the Penn State broadcast.
Right. Yeah. And
he's been with them from the beginning, so I felt for him not having a chance to be a part of our situation. But for me, it's as a Penn State grad, just like Brian, you know, my 7th season with the team, being behind the scenes so much and seeing the work that the staff and the players put in and how just generally great people they are, to see them get rewarded by finally getting to the Frozen Four and being on that stage was just awesome. And to have a chance to call that game, you know, you hope you do it justice in the moment. And it would have been great if, you know, there was more than one goal and Nick DeGraves get that one. And you have the scenarios going through your head of, you know, what would happen if this, and wow, what if they really get to the national championship? But just to be a part of the ride and to be on the broadcast and to have people listening in, it means so much, and you just hope they get another crack at it.
Well, you did it justice, so you should feel proud of the work you did. You should feel very proud of the work you did. Eric, thanks so much for the time today. Get some sleep, because when you get into these runs where it's playoff, Big Ten, all right, NCAA regional, Frozen Four, guess what? All right, that's a lot of back and forth and travel, and even though it's enjoyable, at some point you're going to need some rest. So get some.
I will, yep, for sure. And, you know, having a late game last night after the first one going to double overtime certainly didn't help. And I know everyone was tired today and got a lot of sleep on the flight coming back.
Sounds great. Eric, thank you so much for the time today. Appreciate it. And again, fabulous job.
Hey, thanks, Steve. I appreciate it. Be well.
Eric Ohlson joining us on the show today, talking about Penn State men's ice hockey. It's tough when it ends. Great season, but you just wanted to see if they could get 2 more. You know? Not just 1 more, but 2 more. You know? Sounds like I'm being greedy, but to quote the legendary Gordon Gekko, greed is good. Here on News Radio 1070 WKOK, brought to you by Sunbury Motors.
Party time, game time, or just fun time. Doesn't matter what time it is because it's Brewers Outlet time. The beverage supermarket has the area's largest beer selection. Imports, microbrews, ciders, and domestics. Pick from over 100 ice-cold 12-packs and dozens of 24-ounce singles. Soda, snacks, hot sauces, fresh roasted peanuts. Make it one-stop party shopping, and don't forget the pickle bar. So whatever you're celebrating or just doing it up, Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street, Sunbury wants to see you and thank you for your years of patronage.